Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we are having a special guest, Mr. Aziz Mian. Mr. Aziz, you are most welcome. The topic which we are going to talk about is a topic that so many people in Winnipeg are talking about. It is called the body wash room for the funerals. And the best man to talk about this subject is the man who is having hands on it. Mr. Aziz, it's your turn. Please tell us what you want. I have a few questions and I hope you will answer me these questions.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here and explain the project. I've been involved in the community work for a number of years, and the last maybe 10 to 15 years I've been involved in the funeral process. There was a time when there was very few people who would pass away in the community. Now the community has grown and the number of funerals have increased drastically. Sometimes we might have three in a week, whereas we might have maybe a handful in a year. So obviously that leads us to try to improve the process. So we've been working for the last few years in terms of trying to improve. We have improved number of processes that are part of the funeral. And currently what we are working on is, in the past we were calling it a body wash area, but actually it encompasses much more than body washing because it's basically a part of the full-fledged funeral process. So we are trying to build a facility and add on to our masjid on Waverley, an addition which will actually provide the facility for us to be able to wash the bodies. So it's quite a large project. Encompasses basically 3 parts. We are going to build a large room which has 3 parts in that room. We are going to have a body washing within that room. We will have a storage. We are going to have a cooler within that facility. And in addition, once the body is prepared, quite often the family needs to spend the time with the deceased. So we will have what we call viewing area. So it's not just what some people might think a small space where you're just trying to prepare a body. Is much larger than that. And luckily we got some grant to actually expand a hallway. So we have actually made this project much bigger. We are going to add a new hallway, which is actually will lead us from this funeral processing area into the masjid area, and it is also going to enhance those who are coming to pray.
Very good. Most of the people think that the work which is going on within the MIA, the masjid at Waverley, is for the project which we are talking about now.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, that's a very good question. As you probably may know, the project was supposed to start this year, and because the design part took a bit of longer, and there were some other complications which I can explain. So the project actually did not start this year. However, there is already some work in progress within the same general area where we're going to actually build a new facility. Inside area is being renovated. So that was largely where the men's washroom area was, and the wudu area, and the entrance to the men's hallway. So that area is being renovated. And yes, some community members tend to think that this is actually this project, and that is not correct. So the work underway, it has to do with the renovation to the existing washroom and the hallway that was primarily for the men's entrance area. The funeral processing area is actually brand new construction. It's not a renovation. It is not inside the current structure. It is going to be add on to the building.
And you have got the license and everything for this one, as I understand. Okay, what is involved in this project?
Well, if you were to look at the second picture, it will tell you approximately where it is. So as you know, there are 3 entrances to the masjid. We have a main entrance which is kind of to the back, and we have the sister side entrance, and we have the men's side entrance. So this is actually going to be add on to the facility towards the men's entrance. So if you're familiar with the men's side, Now imagine, so we do have a ramp, existing ramp, and a few steps to get into the building. So that ramp and those steps will be demolished because now we're going to build a brand new hallway in that location, which will connect to the funeral processing area. So there's a demolition involved, and also there are some metering. There's a gas meter, there's a hydrometer, so we will be moving those. And as you move towards the back of the building, all the way towards where the men's towards the MIE offices, this addition is going to be all the way basically towards the end of the building, and so it's approximately 1,100 square feet addition. So it's not small like a 80 or 100 square feet as some people may think. So the hallway itself is quite long, which I said will connect the back of the building to the front, and then we have the facility itself. Now if you were to look at the drawing, it will kind of suggest to you or show you that the profile of the building. So as you know, our building has high ceilings, so the new addition is going to follow the same profile. We are going to make sure that the building looks similar. So that means we are not going to construct a new construction that is going to be only 8 feet high. So if the first profile of the building is 12 feet to 14 feet, it will basically match that. And the inside, like I mentioned, I like to describe the project into really 3 parts. So there's a small vestibule which is going to be added for the men's entrance side. Then there's a large hallway which is going to be connected to the back of the building to the front. And then there's going to be the funeral processing area that is going to be added. So the total project overall is really 3 parts, but when you dissect the funeral processing area, that area itself also is actually 3 parts, because we have the cooler which to accommodate at least 3 bodies. We are going to have the body washing area in that facility. Then we are going to have the viewing area where the family can spend time with the deceased. And then obviously we need a storage area. We need to store caskets and shrouds and all sorts of other material. So that also encompasses 3. In terms of the specialty items, I guess we would say we will need a lift inside the building to transport the body from table to table. The cooler itself is specialized. We are going to put 2 ventilation units. Even though the area does not require 2 units, we will put 2 to make sure that there's really no cross contamination of the air, or there's no smell from one part of the area into another. So that kind of generally,
so it's not like some people think it's just showers and body and a tray. Yeah, it's a big thing.
That's right. Yeah, that you're right. Most people tend to think, when they think body washing, it's just it's like a small shower place. Well, the funeral process obviously entails much more than just trying to wash the body. This is why I think the education is important. Like I mentioned, the whole new addition is about 1,100 square feet, and if you were to compare, a brand new house, 1,100 square feet, at 12 feet high, and now you can double that, because this is commercial work. This is not residential work.
That's why we are here today, is to tell people about the project and to show them the drawings and the photos which we have, to help them understand the project and how much power, how much time people devoted voluntarily. It's important to say people are working voluntarily. Nobody's taking money or paid a salary for this job.
That's correct. The only money that will be spent on the project would be the construction portion will be, obviously we have to pay for it, and the design portion. So all the project management work and the work so far is being done by volunteers.
Sometimes people will talk about the design and the cost and why and how. Everyone has his own opinion. Unless they see on the ground what is it, they will understand. Yeah. And everything in Canada is not cheap, I know. Right. When this will start?
Well, the plan was actually to start this year, but it took a bit of a time for us to design. Like you said, it's fairly encompassing design, and there's been a lot of people involved, and this has gone through 4 revisions. So I think is at a stage where we are pretty happy with it, and I think it will serve the community for the next 50 years. We have taken 4 quotations, So we have 4 prices, and we are going to take the best price out of the 4 prices. And we just need to raise a bit more funds, and I think we can easily start in May next year, and be finished before September. So
I have to comment 2 points from my. The problem here is because people don't know. They start speculating and saying things which I don't like. I'm an engineer and I like facts. And that's why I addressed it directly to you, and I ask, and thank you very much that you came and you are my guest today. People say, how did they choose the engineering office who designed it? I know since you are an engineer, I will not interfere with your job, but it's a question, legitimate.
I think it is fair to ask those questions because we are providing a service to the community.
Yes.
And the community has the right to ask these questions.
Exactly.
And I welcome those questions. So we look at when you look at the size of the project, obviously you can't possibly ask a very large company to bid on it. So we actually went out and we must have asked at least 8-9 different companies who do mid-sized projects, because this is not, I wouldn't even consider the mid-sized project. This is a fairly small project, and in small projects typically there's not a lot of money in small projects for companies. So not every company want to spend the time and not get paid. So we approached 7-8 companies that we felt were fair and good companies for this size project. And actually, it's interesting. Most of them declined because they didn't see enough
profit,
enough value for them.
Yes.
But there were 3 companies, thankfully, because you need a good competition. So we had 3 companies who were willing to work on this project. So our initial thought was that we would do what we call a design bid build project, because sometimes there's more value in that process. So there were 3 companies we were working with, and after working with them, the 2 of them, their pricing and design was just not within the framework of what we were looking for, and we were finding them to be too costly. So one of them was very reasonable, and it's a very reputable company, and so we decided to work with them based on the fee that they were asking. Because quite often, as you know, sometimes the companies can tell you they will charge you X, and when you start the project, it becomes X plus
20% minimum.
Right. So we were lucky. We got a good company, and we critiqued the design portion where we agreed to have a flat fee. So to give you just an idea, typically, if you would go out and check out the design fee, typical design fee is anywhere from 12% to 15% of the construction price. So if you were to say a project is $500,000, that even at a 12%, that equates to $60,000 in design, right? So typically you would expect that you're spending $60,000 in the design, right?
Yes.
So if you were to look at the company that we are using and you judge them and analyze them, you will find they're one of the best company in Winnipeg to work with. They're not cheap. Yet I explain it to you, the cost should be somewhere around $60,000, but actually we are paying about $34,000. So that goes to tell you, number one, we have done our due diligence. So number one,
yes,
we approached multiple companies, right? Very few responded, and out of those responded, it was 3, and that's a good number to work with. Out of the 3, we found the company that was best in terms of the work and their price. And I also told you what a standard price is. So relative standard price would have been $60,000 for a $500,000 construction project, and I said we are paying much less than that. So that should give you some comfort that we actually have done our homework and we have gotten the best value. As far as the design is concerned, we have gotten the best value for the community.
Very good, very good. I have a point, I have to mention it.
Okay.
I'm an engineer, and I'm the vice president of the Arab Engineers chapter in Manitoba. Every internationally educated engineers, when he come here, they ask him, do you have Canadian experience? I think with all the all the projects done, I know that everybody's trying his best to serve the community. There was a lack here in one thing, that we should have been approached as an Arab Engineer chapter, and the other thing, members of the Arab engineers chapter who are new and need Canadian experience should have been involved in this project to get in their resume Canadian experience. So I know there are more big projects. This one is not done yet. It's in the design and then the implementation. We need to ask you now, in any other engineering, I talk about engineering, not talking about other people, any other engineering project, please contact the Arab Engineers chapter. We have 105 members, PhDs, professionals, and students and newcomers. So please, just share us something. So we are with you. We are not interfering, but we will help. As a community, we should help each other.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now the question is...
But I'll just to go back to your point. So it's a very fair point, and typically in a non-profit, that's a very typical point for people to say, why don't we use volunteers? So first of all, I'm sorry, I was not aware of the association, so that's my fault. However, I must say that I must have announced this at a multiple time at the masjid, where our first attempt was actually, knowing that we have a lot of professionals, our first attempt was to actually form a group of designers who would actually design for free.
Yes.
So I made that attempt, and there were only 3 people who contacted us. Out of those 3 people, and the part of the issue is we wanted to use somebody who would actually do the design and actually stamp their work.
Yes.
So we couldn't really use anybody who didn't have a Canadian credential because they were unable to.
He should have professional with a stamp.
Yeah. So the dilemma was, so that is not from us our lack of trying. It was just those people were not able to put any stamp on the work, and no other professional will put their stamp on somebody else's work. So it was a bit of a challenge.
I will take the chance today to ask all the engineers, do not decline to give. Volunteering is important and giving is important. So please, 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 when you see something, you just don't go back and complain. First, be a member with the MIA, and then come and talk and ask. You are from behind, from there, Muppet, shouting, talking, and you don't know what's on the paper or what's the plan. Come and talk to the people like what I've done. When I saw you in the masjid, showing everybody, trying to reach, I told you, come with me and we will reach more. And thank you very much again. You came and we are reaching. Now we will come to the second point, or almost money. We started collecting money, donations and others since last year. And people thought, again, look at the mix, thought that money was transferred into the wash, not the body wash. You are from the internal circle, and you can explain the thing now.
It's a very good point, but unless you get involved, and I say, the onus is on the person who feels that something is not settling well with them to ask the questions, because it is very difficult to judge or guess what sort of questions people have. So as you know, I have stood up there many times and I have said, corner me anytime, send me an email, send me a text message, and I'll be happy to explain. So thankfully, all the money that is collected for this project is there. Nothing has been touched other than the money we spent on the design so far, because the design is 100% complete. So obviously we have to pay part of that fee. So yeah, the money is there. That money is not going anywhere. It's in good hands, of course. The MIA has good processes in place.
And they have an accountant.
Well, of course. So the MIA, the money does not come to the volunteers. It goes to the association, and it is secured in the fund. So obviously this project is a bit bigger than initially thought. Initial idea was it'll be small body washing room, but as I explained to you, and once you will see the layout, is much more than that. So obviously we were not able to do it this year. So obviously once the funds are a bit complete for the total expansion, the plan is to start next year and finish it next year. And it is, I cannot emphasize the benefit of this project, having been involved in the funeral process for last many years. it is probably one of the most important project, because every soul will go through this process, and this will not only make us very efficient. There are sometimes we can't hold the funerals because the other facilities we use are not able to accommodate us. As you know, in our faith, we do the funerals as soon as possible, whereas in other faiths the funerals are done 2 weeks later, 1 week later, whereas they are planned. So we don't have a lot of room to actually plan, because we like to do it within 24 hours or 48 hours. So having our own facility will make it more efficient, will expedite, and make it more comforting for the family. So it's really long overdue.
Good. I have seen big names on the project, so I want to tell people it's not one-man show. Don't think that it's one man taking things and doing it in his hands alone. I've seen Dr. Aziz Ibrahim, who was a long member time, and he was the head of the MIA a long time when it was started 3 times. And there is Project-Aziz, and there's Muhammad Zuhair. So it's not you alone, and there is you are Aziz. Yes. So we have 4 names stamped on this project. It's not one-man show. Now, are we getting any value of this? You have just mentioned it. In the next 50 years, we will see these things.
Well, the value is obviously there will always be people who would feel there's no value. This is no different than if you would go 15 years back, and when this masjid was built, people were saying, well, don't build it. Nobody will come there.
The number of people.
And look at the value of that masjid today. I remember there were people adamantly opposing the construction of the kitchen, saying this commercial kitchen is not needed. Well, look at how much community that kitchen is bringing together.
Yes.
There were people who were opposing the flooring in the gym, saying that's too expensive. Well, that flooring has taken a beating for 11 years straight, day and night, for 7 days a week, and that floor is still holding, right? So if you would ask people today, did they get value? The answer is obviously yes.
Maybe.
But if they were to ask the people back then, there were people saying, well, there's no. So there's all those people. Obviously, there's always criticism, and that is okay. But I say, unless you're involved in the process, you may not be truly appreciate the need for it. But having been involved in the funeral process, I don't know how to convince you that this is really important for every soul in this city.
Okay. Bottom line, as the British say, how much money we need?
So we are, I have to get the new figure, but I think we are roughly around 150 short out of it. Yeah. For the whole project.
Now, this is an appeal to the community. This project is in front of you completely. Anyone can ask about it. The man talks about it. I did
your part? Absolutely. Yes.
Right?
Everybody has a part to play.
Yeah, but I found, as a man who worked on television for 30 years, I have to bring the message to reach everyone in the community. Do your part. Donate. I will not compare our community with others who say we need 130,000 to sponsor 4 refugee families. In 2 days, the box was full with the checks and cash for that amount. Other communities, when they say we want money, they give the money. Why we don't give the money? Now, the project is there. It's a secured fund. Nobody's taking the money into his pocket. So please, do your part and donate. And name your donation for the project.
Yeah, and ask questions. I'm always available to answer any questions.
I finished asking questions.
Anybody has.
No. Questions is answered. Now I want your money. I've just been asking people today about the schools, which Dr. Ibrahim rahmatullah alayhi was doing.
Yeah.
We have 2 schools. To open them, each one needs $3,000.
MashaAllah.
We need 3,000, and we will have each school same. So please donate. Mr. Aziz, thank you very much for being my guest today. Thank you. Shukran jazeelan.
Okay, thank you.
Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum.